In the pantheon of television epics, few productions reach the scope, ambition, and emotional gravity of War and Remembrance. Premiering between 1988 and 1989 as a sequel to the acclaimed The Winds of War, this 12-part miniseries, based on Herman Wouk's monumental novel, attempted something few dramas ever had: to dramatize the full horror, complexity, and human toll of World War II in a way that honored history without compromise. While the first series chronicled the march to war through the eyes of the Henry and Jastrow families, War and Remembrance picks up immediately after Pearl Harbor and plunges viewers headfirst into the global maelstrom of the conflict, from Midway to Stalingrad, Auschwitz to Hiroshima. This essay will explore the series' historical ambition, storytelling scope, cast, production, and its lasting legacy as one of the most important television events of the 20th century. To understand War and Remembrance, one must begin with its creator, Herman Wouk, a Pulitzer Prize-winning author and Navy veteran. Wouk poured years of research into his novels The Winds of War and Remembrance, aiming to depict not just a war story, but a family saga framed by geopolitics, ideology, and moral collapse. ABC had already adapted The Winds of War in 1983 to enormous success. But War and Remembrance was a more daring proposition. The novel was darker, denser, and even more demanding of its viewers. It explored not only military campaigns and political intrigue, but also took a deeply personal approach to the Holocaust, unflinching, graphic, and emotionally devastating. Wouk insisted the Holocaust be treated with historical accuracy, and that no shortcuts or euphemisms be taken. ABC executives were nervous, and rightly so. This wasn't easy viewing. Yet producer-director Dan Curtis, best known for Dark Shadows and the original Winds of War, returned to bring the second half of Wouk's vision to life. With a budget that ballooned to over $110 million, then the most expensive in television history, Curtis set out to film on over 300 sets across Europe, Hawaii, and the US, with a cast of thousands and more than 40 speaking roles of historical figures. At the heart of War and Remembrance is the interwoven story of the Henry and Jastrow families, a microcosm through which the grand scale of the war is humanized. Navy Captain Victor Pug Henry, now played by Robert Mitchum, returning from Winds of War, serves as the viewer's steady anchor, continuing his assignment as a U.S. naval attaché and later as a trusted advisor to President Roosevelt. Through Pug, the series takes us to key strategic discussions, offering a window into the minds of Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin. Mitchum, aged and more stoic than before, portrays a man burdened by the weight of the world, literally watching civilization unravel around him. Pug's estranged wife Rhoda Polly Bergen and his children also have expanded roles. The most tragic arc belongs to his son, Byron Henry, a submarine officer, and Byron's wife, Natalie Jastrow Jane Seymour, a Jewish American trapped in Europe with their young son Louis, as the Holocaust intensifies. Natalie's journey, shared with her uncle Aaron Jastrow, John Gielgud, in an Emmy-winning performance, becomes the emotional heart of the series. Once a celebrated Jewish intellectual and convert to Catholicism, Aaron slowly awakens to the truth that his prominence offers no protection. His and Natalie's descent through the bureaucratic and physical horrors of Nazi oppression, first in Italy, then to Theresienstadt, and finally Auschwitz, is painstaking, accurate, and unrelenting. One of War and Remembrance's most groundbreaking and controversial achievements is its portrayal of the Holocaust. While films like The Diary of Anne Frank or Judgment at Nuremberg had addressed the topic before, few had dared to portray the mechanisms of the final solution with such scope and intimacy. Dan Curtis insisted that the scenes in Auschwitz be filmed on location in the actual death camp, a chilling first. The production obtained permission from the Polish government and filmed in and around the crematoria, guard towers, and barracks. The series employed Holocaust survivors as extras and used historical consultants to ensure accuracy. The result is deeply affecting and, at times, unbearable. We see Natalie and Aaron slowly stripped of their rights, their dignity, and finally their hope. One of the most unforgettable sequences involves Natalie in Auschwitz, witnessing the arrival of a transport of Hungarian Jews. As she stands in the crowd of women and children, she watches the lines separate, left for labor, right for death. It's filmed in long, slow, agonizing takes, and it doesn't cut away. The performances of Jane Seymour and John Gielgud elevate the emotional devastation to something bordering on holy. Gielgud's Aaron, forced to sign fake letters to the outside world assuring all is well in the camps, is particularly haunting. Seymour's portrayal of Natalie's physical and emotional decline is gut-wrenching. There's no melodrama, no sensationalism, just quiet, stark horror. While the Holocaust storyline grounds the series morally and emotionally, War and Remembrance also offers an expansive depiction of the military conflict across all theaters of war. The Battle of Midway is one of the highlights of the series' early episodes. It's shown in staggering detail, complete with practical effects, naval strategy, and tension. Dan Curtis, who was obsessed with historical accuracy, went to great lengths to replicate carrier operations and aerial combat. The CGI-free sequences, relying on models and miniatures, remain impressive even today. Elsewhere, the series brings us to the Eastern Front, where the Battle of Stalingrad is portrayed with brutal realism. We follow German General Armin von Roon, played by Jeremy Kemp, as he watches Hitler's folly grind the Wehrmacht to ruin in Russia. Meanwhile, Rommel and the North African campaign are covered with equal attention to historical nuance. These segments aren't just battlefield filler, they serve to remind viewers how many fronts this war touched and how interconnected every action was. The military scenes, while sometimes a bit constrained by budget or TV limitations, are never mere spectacle. Each moment is used to drive home the cost of war, both in strategy and in human life. If The Winds of War was about denial, politics, and the drumbeat to destruction, War and Remembrance is about reckoning with evil, with responsibility, with what happens when democracies fail to act in time. The series wrestles with heavy themes, the limits of diplomacy, the failure of appeasement, the ease of forgetting suffering when it's not your own. It juxtaposes bureaucratic cowardice with everyday heroism. The title itself is telling. Remembrance is not passive. It demands that we look back and never look away again. The cast is a mixture of returning stars and recast roles. Robert Mitchum, though older and visibly tired, still brings quiet gravitas to Pug. Jane Seymour gives the performance of her career. John Gielgud is magnificent, mixing intellectual arrogance with growing spiritual humility. There's also a strong supporting cast. Hart Bochner as Byron Henry, Victoria Tennant as Pamela Tudsbury, Barry Bostwick as General Bunny Willis, and Stephen Burkhoff as Adolf Hitler, in a performance both chilling and disturbingly human. Each adds richness to the tapestry of this vast world. When War and Remembrance aired between November 1988 and May 1989, it was not the ratings juggernaut ABC hoped for. Its grim tone, length over 30 hours, and unflinching Holocaust depictions made it hard to market. Some advertisers pulled out of the Auschwitz episodes entirely, but critically, it was hailed as a masterpiece. It won multiple Emmy Awards, including Best Miniseries and Acting Awards for Gielgud and Seymour. Critics praised it for refusing to sanitize history. It was the first time many American households saw the Holocaust dramatized in such graphic detail, and it changed the way historical television was perceived. Today, War and Remembrance is remembered less as entertainment and more as an act of historical memory. It's used in classrooms. It's studied by historians and filmmakers. It remains, decades later, perhaps the most comprehensive visual dramatization of World War II ever produced. War and Remembrance is not easy television. It's not designed to be binge-watched or casually consumed. It demands patience, attention, and emotional investment. But in return, it offers something rare, a sweeping yet intimate portrait of a world in collapse, and the individuals who tried to survive it, resist it, or understand it. By daring to show the war in full, on the battlefield and in the death camps, it achieved what no single film or miniseries has before or since. It reminds us that remembrance isn't passive, it's a responsibility, and War and Remembrance meets that responsibility with power, honesty, and humanity.